lot's happened since the last time I was on camera. Just about one thing, it's 2012 now. Now you'll either have a sigh of relief or you'll be crying into your pillow, because last year is now over and I don't think it will be as good a year or as prosperous or as healthy or as every single genre last year had their highlight. Blockbusters, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, comedies, The Guard, and Bridesmaids in general. Art house films along the lines of Le Quatre Volte and Love Like Poison. You had brilliant British films along the lines of Weekend and Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. You had really good documentaries along the lines of Senna and Project Nim and Ben Billy and Pina. Am I going to be saying that this year? I don't know. And I'm not sure if any year for quite a while will have as many good British films, or as many consistently good British films that got lots of buzz across the world, internationally. For example, I don't think I'll be seeing something as beautiful as Weekend this year. I don't think I will be seeing anything as entertaining and thrilling, as complex and unique as Tinker Tailor. I do not think I'll be seeing something as successful and good, very good, as The King's Speech. However, looking back to the past, fool's errand. We look forward to what is about to come. And what comes in the first few months, you say? Well, some crap films, but award ceremonies. And the BAFTAs take place on Sunday, and the nominations were released a good month and a half ago. And the nominations were good. There was a general consensus that BAFTA was nominating films because the films were good, regardless of genre or politics. So there's films like Drive, which I like quite a bit, and there's also a nomination for Michael Fassbender for Shame. With the Oscars, there's something different. It's very safe, it's very conservative, it's very traditional. So films along the lines of War Horse was going to get nominated, which I really don't like, and Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, which I have not seen, but I've heard terrible things about, even though I like Stephen Daldry, and I've also got tickets to go and see it. So I will see it and judge it on its own merits, hopefully with no bias against it, but it's going to be really hard because it's got really terrible reviews and it's apparently god-awful. So there you go. But of course with Oscar there are good films that are nominated. I think there's a good 5 films in there that are actually pretty damn good. There's Moneyball, which I really like, and there's Descendants, which I really liked, and there's also Hugo, and there's Midnight in Paris, and The Artist. However, no one talks about what's good about the Oscars, everyone complains. So what's wrong with the Oscars? Well, let's look at the nominations and the people who have been snubbed. Right. Probably stop myself there, because Oscars shouldn't matter. They matter on an industry level to Harvey Weinstein, but they should not matter to me, because films are films, and films should be good regardless of what award they win. I think Weekend should be nominated for all those BAFTAs. It should be nominated for Best Foreign Language Film. That's how good it is. In my mind, Takeshi Miike's 13 Assassins would be nominated for an Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film. However, if you want to know what I think are snubs, well, you can basically just listen. Michael Shannon for Take Shelter, a film I kind of feel lukewarm towards, but Michael Shannon just deserves an Oscar for his filmography. I really like Michael Shannon. I think he's one of the most underrated actors working, apart from Edward Hawke, who was in a really good film called White Lightning, and he was the best actor of that year, in my mind. Is Michael Fassbender for Shame. Exactly, Oscar. For shame on you. Of course, there are actresses along the lines of Tilda Swinton, which seems to be a very obvious snub for We Need to Talk About Kevin, a film which Americans hate, but British people seem to love. Good. And I would even put in consideration for a film I don't even like. I would put in one for Kirsten Dunst for Melancholia, a film I don't like because I find it narcissistic and incredibly exploitative. Again from Lars von Trier, it is a classier version of Antichrist in my mind, and I really couldn't stand it. However, one thing you can always get out from a Lars von Trier film is this: excellent performances from his actresses. So, Björk in Dancer in the Dark, Charlotte Gainsbourg in Antichrist, Kirsten Dunst in Melancholia, all rather excellent. So I would recommend that you put on a bet of a hell of a lot of money on the Oscars, because it's going to be really predictable. However, you can't have awards without films. So in general, let's get on with the point which I say, what's on the menu for 2012 and what films are actually going to be pretty damn good. In my mind, hopefully. I really hope these films, 1, get released, and 2, I get to see them, and, well, 3, they're good. Along with award ceremonies, you also have film festivals, and film festivals are a really good way of finding out what's going to be good through the year and what's actually coming out and what you should be trying to get excited about. Sundance is a really good way of doing that because it's at the beginning of the year, and some films from Sundance I'm really getting excited about. The Surrogate, which stars John Hawkes, which apparently gives his best performance. To start off, I'd like to see any film that stars John Hawkes. I don't really care what it is. I just want to see John Hawkes. If John Hawkes gives his best performance, I really, really want to see that. Another film called The Shadow Dancer, which stars Andrea Riseborough, who is an up-and-coming actress in her own right, who starred in Brighton Rock, which is an adaptation and a remake of the original Anne the Grey and Green book, which I actually don't mind. And then she's also starred, and she's supposed to be very good, in the utterly abysmal W.E., which is the Madonna film. However, the reason I'm really getting excited about The Shadow Dancer is down to the fact it's by James Marsh, who did Man on Wire and Project Nim. And if this, which is a fiction feature, is as good as his documentaries and as thrilling and as unique and as compelling, then it will be worth seeing. And for the pretentious art house crowd, you have Elle, which is from the creators and the makers and studio that brought you Dogtooth, a really brilliant film from 2010. And you've also got Alps, which is not at Sundance, but I thought I would just mention it because it's probably one of my most look forward for the year, down to the fact that it's from the director of Dogtooth, has the same cast as Dogtooth. That means it's probably going to be somewhere near the quality of Dogtooth from a director I really like. At Toronto last year there was Killer Joe, which was the William Friedkin film, which hopefully is getting a release date this year. Not only do I want to see it because it's by William Friedkin, I also want to see it's got Matthew McConaughey, who has had a, let's just say, turnaround in his career with The Lincoln Lawyer, which I like quite a lot. So to see him go out of the way to do different films that aren't fool's gold, which I hate, but probably love, with Ray Winston doing an American accent and Donald Sutherland doing an English accent, which is hilarious, but god-awful at the same time, and depressing. Also, there's Higher Ground, which is the Vera Farmiga film, which I'm really excited to see, because it basically turned heads last year with many critics and many audiences, and it's supposed to be very good, and it seems very eerily similar to a film called Love Like Poison, which I mentioned last year in a couple of videos. I put it in my top 10 of last year. Generally, I thought it was pretty excellent and very, very good and worth seeing, and I'm intrigued to see if this follows a similar lines and maybe be as good. In general, films that I am looking forward to are the likes of Harakiri Death of a Samurai. If you know me, and you've watched a few of my videos, you may know that I really like 13 Assassins a lot. I put it at joint number 1, basically, apart from Weekend, which I did officially say was the best film of last year, was one of the best films, for me, of 2011. So a follow-up, based upon a classic samurai film, in 3D by Takeshi Miike, I want to see quite badly. Another director I like quite a bit is the director of Sleeping Dogs and World's Greatest Dad, 2 films I really like. And if God Bless America is anywhere near as good, then I'm in for a treat. I'm also looking forward to The Grandmaster, which is about the IP man. The reason why I am looking forward to The Grandmaster is down to the fact it's by Wong Kar-wai. And this is pretty much different than anything Wong Kar-wai has done in the last 10 to 15 odd years. Also, I want to see a Wong Kar-wai film in general after the dud of My Blueberry Nights. Even though, if I'm honest, I don't mind My Blueberry Nights because I own the soundtrack. So I must like the film in some regard. I'm not just a pseudo-intellectual, smug, snobbish 17-year-old who only likes the art house crowd. I like those films more than I mostly like mainstream films. I think you can see why nowadays. But there are blockbusters in general which I'm looking forward to, and I like blockbusters, I just like them when they're done well. I really liked the conclusion to Harry Potter, even though I've hated, despised the last 4 films before number 8. I really, really liked Rise of the Planet of the Apes for the most part as entertainment. However, the blockbuster that's right up my alley is Prometheus. I'm a big Alien fan, and I'm also wanting to see Ridley Scott return to science fiction. Hopefully it will be good. Do not disappoint. As for inventive blockbuster filmmaking, Upside Down, which stars Jim Sturgis, also looks interesting and intriguing. It will either be completely brilliant, and you will think, how have they never thought of this before, or it's going to be like The Fountain. It'll be ambitious, it'll be admirable, but a folly, and a bit of a failure. However, for big budget, Oscar bait filmmaking in general, I am really looking forward to seeing The Great Gatsby. One, Baz Luhrmann is a director I like, and if anyone can infuse The Great Gatsby story and do it right, I can't think of anyone better than Baz Luhrmann on the basis of Romeo and Juliet. 2, The Great Gatsby is a great book. And 3, no one has been able to do The Great Gatsby to film any justice, even though I'm not convinced on Leonardo DiCaprio being an elegant young roughneck with a platonic conception of himself where he was haunted by fantastic conceits. So with the year, we're going to have a hilarious BAFTA ceremony with Jonathan Ross, we're going to have a pretty safe and boring Oscar season, and as ever, the film festivals will show us what films to get excited about for 2012. That's all I've got.